Hey everybody, and welcome to the new Collective Conscious Astrology Report. My name is Jennifer Morrison, and I'm talking to you from Nevada City, California, where we are about to undergo a what is becoming a routine power outage to prevent fire. And tomorrow night, which I believe I'll have no power to broadcast this, so hopefully it gets out to you, is going to be a new moon in Scorpio. So the sun and the moon will be conjunct in Scorpio at 4 degrees of Scorpio, and that is going to be opposing Uranus in Taurus at 4 degrees of Taurus. It's really interesting because Uranus in Taurus, Uranus rules electricity, and Uranus is the great disruptor. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, and Aquarius gets to freedom through chaos and rebellion. And right now we have chaos and rebellion on the earthly plane, shaking everything up, bringing all the technology into our consciousness and how it affects the earth and how it affects us. Which is obviously an issue right now because we have a lot of different technology going on that's affecting the earth, and it is starting to really affect us, where we have like millions of people or 1 million people or something, like all in Northern California is going to be without power. And this is what I've been talking about, that in Capricorn, we have this conjunction in January where Saturn, Pluto, let's see if I can make my screen brighter. Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter are all going to conjunct, and that is going to make for, a new disruption of power and structure, and to make way for new structures and powers that are more aligned with the earth. The Sabian symbol for Taurus at 4 degrees, which is where Uranus is, which is in retrograde motion, is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So if we can get our acts together on this Scorpio new moon, we can get the technology right to help the planet. But we have to dig deep, and we are going to have to do a lot of work to get there. Astrology isn't just like, oh, well, this is going to happen because the planets are there. It gives us the opportunity to see what will happen if we do the work. So, new moon in Scorpio. I'm Scorpio. So, my sun is in Scorpio anyway. Mercury and my Uranus is in Scorpio. So, Scorpio is not afraid of darkness. Scorpio is the shaman. Scorpio is the one that will stay with you through the dark. And what is a shaman? I had an interesting conversation at the food store, at the co-op in Davis, California, a couple of days ago with a young man. He must have been, I don't know, he said he was born in 97, so I guess he's like 22. And his Pluto is in Sagittarius, and we were talking about numbers because the girl in front of me had a bunch of threes come up for her in her transaction, and then I had a bunch of threes come up. And he's like, oh, I don't know about all these threes, He's like, my friend who's a shaman says that 3 is like you're going into the abyss or something like that. And I guess maybe you are if you think about an equilateral triangle and the third, part is like facing down. But that's also, a symbol for a woman, a triangle going down, whereas a man would be going up. And I'm like, well, who says 3 is so, terrible? Oh, my friend, who's shaman, it's bad. But, the whole idea of shamanism is that you've been to the darkness and that you can help other people walk into the darkness and then walk out of the darkness. So, you know, I told I was like, oh, I'm not a shaman, but I'll tell you this. But I'm like, maybe I am a shaman because I am a Scorpio. And Scorpio, if there's any sign of shamanism, it would be Scorpio. And this is the Scorpio time. So it's time to dig deep, investigate, uncover, get to the bottom of things, find out the unknown. And, you know, we also have Mars and the moon just conjuncted in Libra, which is in a square to Saturn in Capricorn. And so things are not, we're wanting to get things done, but you know, it's like we're very relationship focused, and we're running into problems with structure and power to get us, you know, to get our message out or to get our relationship across. Like even the fact that I might not be able to get this video out because I have to rush and try to get it up before I lose Wi-Fi and power is symbolic of what is happening in the collective for all of us. So the moon's zipping along. It's in Libra right now. Tomorrow night it'll be in Scorpio conjunct with the sun. And Mars will get there by the end of the month. And then it will also oppose Uranus. So Uranus is really slow. It takes like 7 years, 84 years to complete its cycle. 7 years in each sign. So, you know, it's going to be a long process of uncovering. And, you know, Scorpio is pretty patient. It's a fixed sign. It can wait it out. And that's what this cycle is all about. So, you know, it's about getting to the bottom of things, to get to that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, to do the right thing by the earth. And it's interesting because the square to Saturn, I looked up the Sabian symbol for Saturn, and it is a hospital ward filled with toys, or for like a children's ward. So it's like saying that the things that society has been doing is not to the benefit of children. So obviously, like the more pollution we have and the more unconsciousness we have and the more toxins in our food and water, the more children are going to have, you know, childhood diseases and inherited diseases and problems. So we have to fix these things so that the structures can be right for the children, so they can have their DNA structured right when they come out and they're born. So this is going to be a pretty short report. I think that we have to keep in mind that the North Node is in Cancer, and that actually there's a grand water trine between the North Node and Cancer, Neptune and Pisces, which is making everybody more intuitive and psychic to what's going on with this new moon and sun in Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, grand water trine. And we have, you know, a sextile to the things in Capricorn. So if we can do our detection right, our uncovering, our research, you know, to trust our own discernment. You know, it's like everyone's like, oh, the internet is bad. It's not like the real news, you know? And it's like, well, who's giving us the real news? And do you have any idea how consolidated that is at its core? And it's pretty consolidated, right? If you really look behind the scenes. So find some independent journalists. I actually just met a young lady tonight, 24 years old, has been to Palestine, has been to Afghanistan. She writes for Vice, and she met women whose babies were decapitated by ISIS, brand new babies. And she feels like, you know, nobody cares about this story, you know, and, you know, maybe she's correct to some extent, you know, but it's like, that's where we need to go. And it's funny that I run into her right before I give this report because, you know, I used to be, married to a soldier who went to Afghanistan, and I've found out a lot of things are not exactly the way that I think that they are, from where I used to think that they were when I was growing up, through war and trauma and understanding the events of 9/11 and whatnot. So, you know, to this young lady, she felt like, you know, maybe after being there and seeing that, she's like, maybe there is no light, you know, but there is light, but you're getting closer to it when you walk through the darkness. And it's always darkest before the dawn, and it's about to get super dark here. So I'm going to leave it at that. Don't be afraid of the dark. It's Halloween time. It is fall time. We are descending on the northern hemisphere, but I promise that the earth is going to keep spinning and the sun will rise again. And, you know, we just have to check out the schedule of the stars. It's there to help us. The symbolism is beautiful. And the symbolism of Scorpio on the 4th degree is youth holding a candle in devotional ceremony. So the rituals that we create as a society and that we bring our children to have the potential to be very impactful for them. So let's make sure that we're keeping the right traditions and getting rid of the ones that are not serving humanity and our youth, because the youth is where our future is. So have a beautiful night, and hopefully this gets to you well, and enjoy the Scorpio time, enjoy Halloween, the Day of the Dead, when the veils between the worlds are the thinnest. It's a great time to go inside, and see how you want to transform, so that we can transform everything that we need to transform together, collectively. Ciao.